Hey guys, what's going on? Mouse here. This is the product of what I've been doing the past 2 weeks. Every weekend, I've been testing Gina since it was released, and I think I'm so done with this already. So I'm just gonna share, guys, what I found out, just the results, because I don't think this is like something that we have to spend a lot of time on. Still do think it's important. I'm gonna share with you guys some information about the fire team, especially Suyun and Gina. I'm also gonna share some situations wherein they could possibly shine, and I'm also gonna share with you guys some of the biggest problems that I found that I think Netmarble should address right now. I've tried every possible combination that I can with the resources that I have, and every trade-off was just not worth it. So first part is gonna be the guild boss test, and second part is gonna be a super shit thing that I think should be improved here, especially on Suyun and the fire team overall. All right, let's go ahead. So this is the default lineup and stats that we're gonna use for this test. If ever we're gonna change something, that's very minimal and only on Suyun stats. So Jinwoo is not using anything just so the blessing set would not benefit the team A specifically. For team A, this is a monolith team with Min Byung-gu. Here's the stats. There you go. Oops, have to remove this. So let's just change this to something else. And for Go Gun-hee here, skill levels 10, 10, using 8-piece grid. No cores because my Emma doesn't have a good core yet, just to balance it out. Although it's not gonna be fair, again, things like this, not gonna be fair. So my Cha is A10, A10. Here's the stats. 200% crit damage, attack 24.7k damage increase here, and light damage 10.54. Her penetration is 5.38. Skill levels 10, 10, 10. Expert curse, and this is gonna be the course that I'm gonna use. So I purposely removed the main core that I'm using because it's gonna be a lot of advantage on her if I use that. So let's just use this instead. So for team B, we are using here Gina with 25k attack, crit damage 178%, and here are the other stats. Fire damage is 9.94. Skill levels 10 here. Also Guardian plus Sylph as well. And then here are the cores. And here's my Emma, 41k HP. That's here. There we go. Hit damage, penetration, and damage increase. Skill level 7-7. 8-piece grid, and no cores. And for my Suyun, we're gonna be using 24.7k attack, same as Chahae-in, although her stats is gonna be, in terms of points, probably a lot more than Chahae-in. I think that's fine. She's A5, A4 only, and then I'm gonna explain later the entire setup. Crit damage and defense penetration, damage increase, fire damage here, level 10, and then 8-piece curse. I'm gonna expound more on this later in the video, and we are gonna be using these cores. So the team C, just the usual essential units that we are using. So this is the result of test number 1. This is with Shadow Step, Choi Weapon, Bloodless Legendary, the regular defense decrease that we are applying on the guild boss. So we have Chahae-in here, more damage compared to Suyun, followed by Go Gun-hee, which is very, very near Suyun. And then Gina, even with that high stats, damage is shit. This thing right here doesn't look good to me because it's like almost similar to Choi right now. I think even Choi is probably even contributing more to the entire team compared to Gina, like all 9 of them. So the overall performance in the guild boss. So for the second test, I did not apply a defense decrease. We removed choice weapon, and then stats are the same, and then we did not use shadow step, removed bloodlust as well, as in no defense decrease applied. In this case, Suyun won, and that is most likely gonna be explained because Suyun's penetration here is very high, as I've shown you, and everyone else did experience a huge drop in their damage. As you can see, Suyun's damage from 427M. Of course, this is a different run, but 427M to 335, and Chahae-in's 583 to 277, more than half, and Gogunhi as well experienced similarly, and everyone else. Anyway, test number 3, let me just show you the adjustments on the stats first. So for the next setup, we're gonna switch to 4-piece Black Lion set, which has an ignore def. So the researchers have confirmed already that this is similar to defense penetration, and that defense decrease and defense penetration are not additive, they are multiplicative. So I'm gonna expound on that later on, or let's just wait for them to publish the results of the study they did. Now we have slightly less stats, especially the attack. The crit rate is slightly less as well at 46.1%. That's quite big for Suyun, but I think that's still fine. This is the setup. First run will be a no defense decrease run. Here, the results. With Black Lion with slightly lower stats, we got lower score on Suyun, and if we compare it to the 8-piece curse set here, we're in. So by the way, this is no defense decrease applied as well. So Gogunhi's damage same, Chai-In and the damage same. However, Suyun's damage fell a bit. So I think in that case, still, of course, this is situational, guys. The stats balance is situational here, but we did just to show you that we did experience a bit of a drop. Could be RNG, could be something else, but at least the results are not that far compared to 8-piece curse sets. So I forgot to add this, just added it while recording the video and paused it. So this is the result of the 4-piece Black Lion Bloodlust Legendary Shadow 7 Choi weapon, the regular defense decrease that we are applying. So as you can see here, damage is back, chest damage is back with 559M here. So she's number 1 again. So in any case, we're doing the usual thing, the shadow step, the defense decrease. The light team is performing way better than the fire team, which is the defense penetration base. So for test number 4, I added more just to make sure that stacking like insane amount of defense decrease and defense penetration is not something that might have different effect. And yes, it doesn't have a different effect because here I added Ana Ruiz along with Choi and everything else. So this gotta be like Ana Ruiz weapon, skill, Choi weapon, shadow step, Bloodlust Legendary, and Black Lion. And still, Chai-In is winning, Light Team is still performing the same way. So not good as well for the fire team. So this one I changed to mail-in support with the regular run, the regular stuff, and look at this, the damage difference is so huge right now. So Mail-In Fisher is actually really a much better support probably, and then Chai-In 678. Oh my goodness. So by the way, everything here I forgot to mention, this is like a 1 minute 30 seconds run. I forgot to include in the screenshot here at the top right, but yeah, I think that should be fine. So for test number 6, I did not apply a defense decrease again with Mail-In lineup, and as you can see, Suyun won again. Light Team's damage dropped, and Suyun's damage is the effect on Suyun's damage output is very minimal in that case. As it is right now, it's not looking good in this particular case in my account. You guys can test it yourselves as well just to confirm. But yeah, this is just for my account again. But I think I'm very convinced. Now for my overall thoughts for the guild boss, I would say Suyun is really not the preferable to use to guild boss, where the defense decrease applied is already very high. So there might be some cases that it would work, but I'm not sure. It's just like I'm not convinced that it's gonna happen right now the way it is. So the only time Suyun and the fire team shines is that when no defense decrease is applied and Suyun has a defense penetration, a lot of defense penetration stacked on herself. So possibly when only minimal defense decrease is applied, it can beat Chai-In in terms of damage. Just additional info, defense decrease is additive, defense penetration is multiplicative to that. So there need to confirm whether there's a sweet spot when stacking them. But a couple of research not just the old ones, there are new ones as well that already confirmed this. The latest one was from BBR Burr in Warriors community. Scored shout out to you, bro. Thanks for sharing the formula. So the formula on defense decrease and defense penetration is already there. 100% convinced that it's the most accurate thing we have now, and let's just wait for them to share it publicly and officially. Not my work, so I won't share it here. So we'll let them be the ones to present the work they did. Yeah, all thanks to their effort. We're not in the dark anymore, so more tests are needed in the case of the fire team, but I think it's really not looking good. I have really tried so many possible combinations since Gino was released. The worth it, like everything was just not worth it, and I don't think there might be a specialized thing here that we might be able to discover in the future, but right now I think it's least priority because like it might not be worth pursuing right now. Maybe it's just how it is. Maybe they just needed to be buffed, or maybe they're just not good for kill boss overall. So apart from that, I did find a lot of big problems, like big problems that I think Netmarble should fix in order to make the fire team at least be competitive in this particular game content, or maybe overall. So I'm gonna show it to you as well. So here it is. So here's one of the problems that I found as well. Magic Firearms of Suyun. Although this is not her main damage, it still does good damage. However, after testing it here, it seems like it's not inheriting the artifact crit rate. So if your artifact crit rate is at 50%, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna crit that much. Or maybe there's something wrong here, I'm not sure. Let's look at this. However, it seems like it's getting benefit from the other sources of crit from Min and probably the branded debuff of Chahi-In. But I only tested this on Min and Igris, and I can say for sure that the crit is way more than the 50% of artifact, which is mostly like literally almost non-existent. And another interesting thing I found out is that they are likely a different entity similar to Deborah's Foxes, but Deborah's Foxes inherit a portion of Deborah's stats. I'm not sure if it works the same way as the Magic Firearm of Suyun, but as you can see here in POD, once you summon them, they are getting the We Are One buff, signifying that they are indeed different units that should probably buff as they come out. They should probably get some buff or shield or whatever. I don't know, but this is so weird. I do hope that the devs would allow the Magic Firearms to inherit the entire crit rate of Suyun, whether passive or whether artifact crit rate. So again, I'm not 100% sure about that, but from my testing, it's pretty clear that it doesn't crit as much without those. And another huge problem here is that we're still back to the same problem as before. We don't have crit rates on these units, and they are suffering heavily from DPS loss, especially that there is no game content right now that really requires the defense penetration. And with that, that's one of the reasons why I think, compared to other DPSs who are using expert set, although there is a potential for it to be better when used on Suyun compared to 8-piece curse set, however, the difference is very minimal in my tests. I think it's pretty much confirmed that the defense penetration doesn't work in those contents, and I believe it won't work as well. Well, it does work, but it won't be as effective as well in any game content wherein defense decrease stacking is applied. And there's also no crit rate for the entire team. This is the only support I believe that has been released that doesn't provide any crit rate. This girl provides crit rate, this one provides crit rate, Min provides crit rate, of course. Who else? Libora, even though not the support, but she also has a crit rate buff on her weapon, but Gina doesn't provide that as well. So the only crit rate that you're gonna get for Suyun is when you're using toughness, if you have a teammate that will debuff, or and the guild boss in case there's a branded plus Libora's weapon. But it's still problematic because if the Magic Firearms, which is the continuous damage that is Suyun is doing does not crit as much, then there is a huge DPS loss there. And another thing, if you want to get crit rate, then you're gonna have to have a grid set user on your party, which Emma also doesn't have a crit rate buff to the team. So technically speaking, you get artifact crit rate 50% and then 15% from Emma's grid set or other party members grid set. Then that's pretty much it. Igris may be in Hunter's mode, so I think that's a big problem. I think it would be fair if this one probably give this one like 12% crit rate at least. I think that's gonna be fine because people are unhappy about the fire team, from Choi to Suyun to Gina. Up until now, players are still unhappy spending money on this, but there's no use on them apart from maybe Battlefield of Trial and maybe some story mode. But you actually don't need the story mode because we have other more reliable DPSs that can run through them, like Alicia for example, or Miri for example. Hopefully they buff Gina to have crit rate buff, maybe even on her weapon, like 2% per stack or 1% per stack, just to kind of push more damage on Suyun, because right now the defense penetration stuff on Suyun is not something that's really needed here. It's good on paper. I think it's effective on paper, especially when you're playing Hunter's mode, but in the case of using her on actual game content that most people are playing, most people who pull for A5 and maxing the units, they're not going to be happy with this. And of course, I think it's only fair that these units work decently at least on every game content, not just on 1 or 2 game contents. People can argue that, well, that's not the purpose of this unit. Well, sorry guys, all of these units here, Cha, Mireille, and Alicia, can be used anywhere else and they excel anywhere else. Suyun only excels in, I don't know, maybe against the level 60 Battlefield of Trial Scorpion. Only that. I don't see any point in really pulling for these units, and the devs should actually do something about it and rebalance it in such a way that at least it's competitive compared to the Alicia team or the Mireille team, because right now it's really not. Or at least maybe the next unit, which is going to be a fire unit, that's probably a breaker that's going to replace Emma, to have a crit rate buff on this, because really, maybe you guys have ideas on how to improve her damage and make her usable, but I have been playing this for the past few days and weeks, actually 2 weeks now, every weekend, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But now I'm pretty much convinced that they need some improvement, or we need content that they can actually be used.